Evolve or perish. Chapter 14. Paroxysms of Society. Business has never moved along at a steady, uniform pace for any extended number of years. It is always passing through good times or bad times. The record of business conditions is an undulating line moving above and below a normal line. This business graph with its ups and downs is a record of physiological or pathological conditions existing within our national society. Our national society is a superorganism with all the vital forces, with all the cooperating, harmonically functioning organs, all the characteristics and reactions of a living being. This business graph can be considered as a record of the variations of some factor in the economic circuit, analogous to pressure or volume in a steam or electric circuit, and as such used as an indicator of internal conditions of the system. It could also be likened to a record of variations in blood pressure or of temperature in a human being. If the system is viewed as a purely physical one, which responds to purely physical factors, and in which there is no human control factor or one of only very minor magnitude, then we could expect to find in the variations of the purely physical factors the causes of the variations in the economic circuit, which produce the undulating business graph. If, however, we view the economic circuit as a structure in which human control is the dominant factor, we would expect to find the effects produced by purely physical causes subordinated to the effects produced by human control. If we should find in the undulations of the business graph a fundamental rhythm that corresponded to the rhythm of the sunspots, for example, we would have reason for believing that business ups and downs followed the variations in the sunspot frequency, or in the forces that cause this phenomenon on the sun, and may be producing other effects simultaneously on the Earth. Reproductions of the business graph and of the sunspot cycle graph are presented on another page. A comparison of the two will indicate that there is no correspondence in the rhythms of the two graphs. There is no doubt whatever about conditions on the Earth being affected by the sunspots, or by whatever causes sunspots. Dr. Charles J. Abbott, Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution at Washington, a most careful and conscientious investigator, has demonstrated that the amount of solar radiation received by the Earth varies from day to day and year to year, and that these variations are associated with the sunspot cycle. He has also found that there are variations in our weather that correspond with the sunspot cycle, the weather pattern repeating itself every 23 years, which is double the 11.5-year period of the sunspot cycle. Weather is an important factor in agricultural production, and agricultural production is an important factor in the economic cycle. If weather is a major controlling factor in agricultural production, the effect of its cycles should be apparent in the undulations of the business graph. The business graph is shown in Figure 32, and a portion of this graph with the sunspot cycle superimposed on it, as drawn by a supporter of the sunspot control theory, is shown in Figure 33. From either a casual inspection or a close study of these figures, it will be apparent that there is neither an 11.5 or a 23-year recurrent cycle in the business graph. The inevitable conclusion is that our economic cycle is not controlled to any significant extent by either sunspots or the recurrent weather pattern. The ups and downs of business, therefore, cannot be blamed on the sun. Their cause must be sought in some other more effective control factors. Agriculture is almost entirely a man-made and man-controlled industry. The effects on production due to man's intervention are immeasurably greater than the effects due to the variations in solar radiation, which stay within a range of 4%. Man control is the major factor in agricultural production and in the operations of the entire economic system, and the major cause of all variations in the ups and downs of the business graph must be traced to this source. Extensive data on several economic factors have been compiled by Colonel Leonard P. Ayres and published by the Cleveland Trust Company. From his figures on a monthly basis, the following business index figures on an annual basis have been compiled. Let us note the extreme points in the up and down swings of the business graph. These figures are charted in Figure 50. The story they tell is obvious. The depths of depressions are increasing. The descent has been rapid since shortly before the beginning of the century, and this corresponds to the period when the frontier disappeared. The recent depression was a major catastrophe to the economic life of the country. The next descent will completely destroy the present political and economic structure. If this prediction had only the data of the business graph to support it, would be without a very substantial foundation, but this is not the case. The business graph corresponds with the indications presented by every other factor studied. They all point to the fact that every element leading to economic instability has been increasing at a fantastic rate, which can result only in disaster. The increase in bank deposits, or the growth of our wealth, is usually interpreted as showing that as a people we are enjoying great wealth. The assumption is made that this wealth is fairly distributed, and that the wealth of all groups in the populations has increased uniformly. This assumption differs radically from the truth. If we compare the curve showing the increase in wealth with the curve showing the increasing depths of depressions, we find there is an extremely close correspondence between the upswing of the former and the downswing of the latter. There is a strong indication of a cause and effect relationship in this situation. If we make a comparison between the curve showing the increasing ratio of bank deposits to bank loans and the depression curve, we find the same relationship between the upswings of the bank curve and the downswings of the depression curve, again indicating a cause and effect relationship. It is interesting to note how the interest rate curve corresponds with the depth of depression curve, and how it goes down as the excess bank deposits go up. If we will hark back to the chapters dealing with the distribution of income, we will recall that the graph showing the income earned by personal effort went down just like the depth of depression's curve, and that the income earned by money went up just like the excess bank deposits curve. If these changes were to continue for a little more than another decade, at the rate they were proceeding in the 20s, all of the income of the United States would be required to support the money structure, and all the workers would become economic slaves, all of their earnings being required to support the capital structure, and none being available for purchasing of goods produced that are necessary for maintenance of life. The entire population of the country would have to be supported by capital, a state of complete slavery. The trends shown by all of these factors, plus others mentioned elsewhere, are producing stresses and strains in the economic structure of the country and in the social structure. When these strains reach certain magnitudes, there is a reaction against them, and these are manifested in the conditions of the depressions. The depressions are the paroxysms of the social and economic structure, convulsions caused by a piratical robbery of the economic circuit by a dishonest capitalism. The next convulsion will be the last one under our present system. If it is permitted to happen, it will cause the disintegration of our present political institutions and the loss of much that is valuable in our present civilization. These convulsions of society are not due to the sunspot cycle or to any external factor. They are due entirely to the manner in which responsible men have been manipulating economic factors. They are man-made and man-controlled, and we can prevent them if we wish. The basic cause is economic robbery by those in control of money. The simple cure is just plain honesty in all individual, corporation, and community operations. Failure to apply the cure means universal collapse and chaos that will produce most unfortunate results.